Let's get into it. Coach Colin here. We got Charlie Kirk sitting down with George Janko. If you don't know who George Janko is, he used to be on Logan Paul's podcast. He was like the sidekick. Logan Paul disrespected him and his religion, which is Christianity. He insulted Jesus. George wasn't having it, started his own podcast, and by the grace of God, that podcast is eclipsing Logan Paul's podcast. In terms of views, he is double and triple the views some months. It's been wild. He's had all sorts of people on. Peterson, Tate, Charlie Kirk now. I think he even sat down with Candace Owens. He's just had everybody on. Great conversations. And this one, it's Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk is laying out three candidates: Biden, RFK, and Donald J. Trump. Now, we all know Charlie's a little biased like I am. He likes Donald Trump, but he has a lot of great things to say in regards to how people should be looking at this election at the ballot box. This is not hard. If you can shoo away all the mainstream media trying to act like Trump has never been president before, you have 4 years and 4 years to compare from. Now, Charlie Kirk's going to break that down a lot better than I just did. And then I'm going to move on to a second clip from this podcast where Charlie Kirk talks about why this is so different from any other administration, because, well, I'll let him say why, but it's a very interesting clip that he has to say. And I agree with it 100%. The people in charge have a disdain for us. It's very apparent. Anyways, let's get into it. First clip, let's go.
About things that they're actually doing that you agree with and you disagree with. I actually want to hear some of the things you agree with them too.
Okay, so, boy, which one do you want to start with? You want to start with Biden?
I do want to start with Biden.
Yeah, okay, I think he's a traitor to the country and a craven, evil maniac.
Wow, that was a pretty. That went right there,
he's
huh?
a nice guy. No, I mean, look, I mean, you can't.
Has he done anything that you're excited about?
He hasn't. He's actually, the fact that he hasn't given the green light to bomb targets inside of Russia recently is probably the best thing he's done. He's actually like slowed down some of the maniac neocons in DC.
That's really nice.
That's good.
I'm very proud.
No,
That's a nice thing about them.
The fact that Biden actually said recently, we don't want to escalate this further against Russia, is like the most responsible thing I've seen from him. And he's been incredibly reckless on this issue, but
cool.
Was actually surprising because he has this,
I like that.
he has
That's
this
nice.
raving lunatic Victoria Nuland going on TV saying we have to go bomb the interior of Russia. Like literally, she just said that. I mean, that's how you get the unthinkable that I said previously. So no, look, Biden has been a disaster to the country. I don't want to spend too much time on Biden, but RFK. So RFK, I think he's great on the vaccine stuff. He's great. I'm a big medical freedom guy, like very big on medical freedom. I think we're being poisoned actively by corporations. First of all, he's not going to be president. He's not going to win. But secondly, he's liberal on almost every major issue.
So you're writing him off completely. He's not going to win.
No, there's zero chance.
So then why is he getting up every day and trying so hard?
Well, because maybe he's trying to run for the Democrat nominee next time. I mean, think about this. RFK Jr. is a major winner of this campaign. He was relegated to like political obscurity as being labeled as just an anti-vax guy for years. No one would interview him. No one would take him seriously. Now he's in popular dialogue and discourse. He is the most talked about living Kennedy.
Got it.
Yes, right?
Fair.
And there's a lot of living Kennedys. You turn over a rock in Massachusetts, there's a Kennedy, right? He's the most talked about living Kennedy, and he's getting his ideas out there. And I think he's a true believer in certain stuff, but he's far left-wing on the environment, on abortion. He says no restrictions at all whatsoever, even if it's up to the point of gestation, which is insane, it's evil, it's cruel.
Elaborate on that. What does that mean?
He sat down with Sage Steele, who is a former ESPN anchor, and she's terrific. She's a black patriot, and she asked, do you believe in any restrictions when it comes to abortion? And he says, I believe in allowing the woman's right to choose and not getting within doctors. Same thing. She said, just to be clear, even at 9 months, so woman is fully pregnant.
9 months.
9 months. Even France doesn't allow this. Just to be clear, okay? And
Picked her hometown. Nice.
Yeah, but no. And France has just enshrined abortion in the Constitution. They don't even allow this kind of late-term crap. And he says, no restrictions. I'm not going to allow it. Which means he is so held hostage by the child sacrificing base of the Democrat Party. I just have to say it, right? Because they're
I love how you took a second to see if you weren't going to say it, and then you're like,
yeah,
I'm going to say it.
I'm just going to say it. It's just sacrificing children at the altar of Molech, which is what it is. It's 1 million abortions a year. And like, oh yeah, at 9 months, baby's fully developed, can survive outside of the womb, boom, we can do it. So he offered no moral clarity at that point of time. He's come on my program. Again, I have a lot of respect for him on the COVID stuff because I think he deserves credit for that. However, he's not going to, A, be president, B, he's super liberal, C, I think he's disguising how radical he really is to try to win votes from both sides. And then my man, Donald Trump. I mean, I'm very biased. I've got to know him really well. He's been incredibly good and gracious to me. But here's how I want people to think about this election, because there's so much noise, okay? For the first time since the 1892 election, we now have two independent presidential terms that we can compare. So in 1892, we had Benjamin Harrison versus Grover Cleveland. And Grover Cleveland served as president prior. Benjamin Harrison beat him, and then Grover Cleveland ran again. So in 1892, voters were like, okay, which president was better? Was it Benjamin Harrison or Grover Cleveland? They chose Grover Cleveland, who, like Trump, won, didn't win, and then ran again. Yeah. So the question is this: on three issues that I believe are the most important issues, who has the better record? Number one, on the economy. Where did you feel more comfortable financially? Inflation, purchasing power, more stability? 4 years of Trump, 4 years of Biden. Over 75% of voters agree it was Donald Trump. It's not even close. Second issue, war. Under Joe Biden, we have new wars in almost every single theater. Potential war with Iran. We have issues with China, obviously Israel, Gaza, Israel, Hamas, Ukraine, Russia. Donald Trump was the first American president in 40 years where there were no new wars started. No new wars, period. Blessed are the peacemakers. There was no Putin in Ukraine. There was no Israel, Gaza. It was stability like we've never seen. In fact, there was an Israel peace deal called the Abraham Accords that Donald Trump brokered. And the final is the border and just this idea of mass indifference to crime in this country. Crime is like my number one issue, to be perfectly honest. I think that if you allow the small stuff, you get the big stuff is excused. I'm talking about theft, arson, and of course, entrance into the country, 3.5 million people breaking in and invading the country. The border was the most secure under Donald Trump. So those three things are the things I think how you should analyze this election. Which president did it better? It takes the guesswork out of this election when you go to fill out your ballot. So when you fill out your ballot, usually an election is either one of two things. So for example, in the 2008 election, Obama v. McCain, it was two visions for the country. But we really don't know how they would be as president, right? In 2012, it was one record versus a vision and a challenge. So you had Obama v. Romney in 2012. This is different. This is 4 years, you judge who did it better. Yeah. Which president were you richer? Which president were you safer? Which president had more stability domestically? And it's not even close. It's Donald J. Trump.
100%. He broke that down beautifully. It's very true. And again, going back to what I said at the beginning, the mainstream media, MSNBC especially, I can't even say that. It's all of them. All of them have this way of, right down to The View, all these people. Robert De Niro, he's not going to leave office. He's going to start World War III. Like, oh, you have no idea how bad it's going to be under Trump. Everybody has an idea. And I don't know why the mainstream media keeps clinging to this. Like, he's not going to leave office. He's going to be a dictator. He's going to send people in cars to take you away for no reason at all. He's just going to do that to everybody throughout the whole country. He's going to walk around in an empty country like as if it's North Korea or something. Like, no, we all know what he's going to do. We've seen what he does. We've seen that he gets tough on the border and people call him racist and xenophobic. And he goes, I don't really care. We're going to do this. It's the good thing to do. Right. We've seen him do this. We've seen him talk about the economy, do well there, black unemployment, creating jobs. We've seen what he does there. Actually, one of the first, in my opinion, one of the first that I've seen in my lifetime of being able to vote, actually saying, hey, black people, because what did he say when he first got elected? He's like, what do you got to lose? And then he actually went and did things for black people. He was like, I got you, don't worry. You get me here, I got you, don't worry. And he actually did things for them. And we're starting to see the ripple effects of that by how many black voters are like, I want Donald Trump back. He actually did stuff. He He's trying to cut a deal. He's really trying to cut a deal. He's like, here's the deal. I'm going to come here. I'm going to speak. We're all going to have a good time. I want you to come and vote for me. And I'm going to do stuff for you guys. I trust me. Whereas every Democrat has this idea where it's like, well, I already own you. So I'm going to just say some things to pacify you. And when I get in office, I own you, so I don't really have to do anything for you. And that's just the status quo. That's how it's always been. What's the problem? But now there's been Donald Trump. So now black and Hispanic voters are like, no, no, no. We want the guy who's going to do stuff. We want the guy who works for the vote and does the whole kissing the baby thing and then actually comes through and does things for us. Now, I'm just bringing that up just because, it's like Charlie said, 4 years versus 4 years. Black and Hispanic voters have made it very clear. All those metrics that Charlie brought up, where did you feel safer? Where did you feel better? Where were you richer? The working class black vote, Hispanic vote has made it very clear it's Donald Trump. 100%. And again, I've said this before in videos. You don't have to be an economist to understand the economy when you're the lifeblood and living in it as a citizen. You get it. Whether or not you know it, you understand it. Because you go to the grocery store and you look and you're doing your calculations and you're like, that's not as much as what I usually buy. Okay, that's not good. You don't know why. You don't know what's causing it exactly. But you know who the cause is. You're pretty clear on that. Most people, at least. Then when it comes to the border, like I said, not afraid to be called racist, not afraid to be called xenophobic and all the things that they throw at a person. When it comes to that, doesn't back down when AOC goes to the border and takes a photo op of her crying at the border and then hops back in her black car surrounded by security to her lavish life where she doesn't go back to the South Bronx ever. It's like Trump has been to the South Bronx more than she has in the past 4 years. Like, how does that even make sense? And then when he goes to what he has to say about RFK, that stuff was disturbing. That was disturbing. I've already made a video talking about RFK, showing Patrick Bet-David pretty much exposing RFK in one view, not fully, not like a whole thing, but in one view where they were talking about affirming care, the surgery and things like that for children. And RFK was kind of like, parents, they can choose. And Patrick Bet-David was like, hold on. He's like, hold on. No. Children. We're talking about kids, I think he said under 16. And RFK was kind of like, yeah, let the parents. And I really do think that he hit the nail on the head when he said he's disguising how radical he actually is. I think we're all seeing that. The videos have come out. I will preface as I say this, someone can grow and learn and change. That's possible. But there have been so many clips that have come out about this guy, RFK, where he's talking about climate change in the same realm of AOC and anybody who's with climate change, who's on board with that whole thing, that whole anti-human thing. He talks about it the exact same way. He's a firm believer in that whole thing, which means he's going to go along with anything that the Democrats have in mind in regards to climate change. We've already touched on Charlie Kirk, what he touched on there, the affirming care. So many people brought it to my attention when I was talking about him. And I was even having an argument on Twitter recently with somebody who was talking about how he's not going to take guns and he would never take guns. And then somebody actually chimed in with a clip of him saying, if Republicans and Democrats agreed and it was a consensus, I would sign the bill. And he was talking in regards to banning certain firearms. From there, people anybody who is for the Second Amendment kind of makes the connection of, so what if they agreed on not just, automatic rifles, but what if they agreed also on handguns? What if they agreed on this? What if they agreed in general that the guns need to be taken away? He said that if there was a consensus, he would consider it. He didn't even say he would consider it. He said he would sign the bill. That's it. That's too much for a lot of people. That's way too much. So I think he is actually disguising how radical he is. And again, I'm biased. I got a Trump shirt over there. I got 2 Trump shirts right over there. But Trump was right. He's like, this guy's radical. You know what? Trump actually recently just said, I can't find the video. I wish I had the video. I'm going to move on to the second George Janko clip where Charlie Kirk talks some more. But President Trump actually says, I'm just going to try and find the video while this is playing. Hold on. Let me just do something real quick. I want to find this for you guys. Let me just take this over here and I will pull up this for all of you. Let's get to that second clip. Let that play.
Type of situation in this country before?
Yes.
So is it like history repeating itself? Is it not?
History rhymes more than it repeats itself. I didn't come up with that. Somebody did. I don't know.
I really appreciate that you do
Yeah.
that.
No, but-
could you elaborate what that means?
Yeah, I mean, we have not had, I believe, this many looming domestic crises since the 1860s, since the American Civil War. Now, I'm not saying we're going to a civil war. That's not what I'm saying. But we've never seen this many simultaneous existential problems. And also, what makes it different, and we've never had this before, is the people who are tasked with running the society, they hate the people that they're governing. They have a top-down revolution against us, and they are doing methodical, daily policy decisions that weaken the country that they are supposed to be caretakers of, from an economic standpoint, from a geopolitical standpoint, from a foreign policy standpoint. So we have a ruling class that is at war with its people. And that's an oligarchy. And you get really
Do you think is it technology?
unstable stuff after that. Let me just put it that way.
Do you think it's because technology has gotten so advanced that the people at the top are like, oh, these people are like kind of meaningless now. We could get AI in 20, 30 years to replace.
You're giving them way too much credit. No, they're not that. Some of them are that sophisticated, but not all of them. No, these are largely ideological zealots that believe that they are part of the managerial class and that they run the society. And they do not believe in representative government. They do not believe in consent of the governed. They do not believe in the traditional American systems of how we solve our problems. And I can give you pieces of evidence after piece of evidence from how they interfere with our elections, how they are orchestrating, trying to put Donald Trump in prison instead of allowing an election actually to happen without such outsized and outward influences. So, yeah, we have major issues here, but the biggest of all of them, and I'll repeat it, is the people who have the most are abusing the society.
Oh, man, well said. Very well said by Charlie Kirk. Man, it's a great interview. Again, his name's George Janko. If you never heard his name, it's Janko. He is Assyrian. The same as Patrick Bet-David. Not Patrick Bet-David, but one of his co-hosts, Vinny. I believe Vinny's Assyrian too. He's that same type of elk, hardcore Christian guy, does not play around, has these great conversations with so many different people. Let me just have it. It has this great conversations with so many people.
We don't want to see Russian ships.
I got all Trump stuff on my tabs. It's all Trump stuff. Let me see if I can find this clip. I can't find it. It wasn't a clip that I planned on showing you guys, but it was a clip that Piers Morgan presents to RFK, and it's actually of Trump speaking about RFK. And he talks about how RFK is more left than Biden, and that's why the Biden campaign doesn't want RFK in the debates, because they would actually be debating the same points and they would have the same stances, and RFK would probably, because he's so much sharper than Biden, he would probably trounce all over Biden, and then Trump would just trounce all over him, and it would just be a whole Trump love affair between all of us mega folk who want to see Trump on top. But I can't find that clip. I just wanted to bring that to you guys. But what do you think about what Charlie Kirk is saying in regards to the three candidates? Do you think that that is how you should look at it? And let's just, I know there's some people who love RFK. He's not going to win. The two candidates. Let's just push RFK aside. Sorry. But what do you think about that? Do you look at it as just this presidency? Is that the best way to look at it? I really do think exactly what Charlie Kirk said takes the guesswork out of it. You don't have to guess what Trump's stance on the border is. You've seen it and you're hearing him talk about it. You don't have to guess his stance on the economy. You've seen it and you're hearing him talk about it. And the same goes for Biden. You've seen how Biden is. He's trying these last ditch efforts. He wants to open up the flow of the border. He likes the fact that there's so many people pouring in. And then in junction with that, you have Chuck Schumer saying how he wants all of the people who come in to have this expedited path to citizenship. And it kind of solidifies what everybody's saying in regards to all of these people who are coming in are being looked at as potential voters, as potential police officers, as potential soldiers. And they are going to replace black people, white people, Hispanic people. They are very much a replacement for all of these people, because black people are starting to wake up. Hispanic people are starting to wake up. White people have been waking up. Everybody's waking up. So they're like, oh, we need a new class of people who are just going to be indebted to us and have their kids just be indebted to us, because we're starting to lose that in the black community, in the poor working class communities. We're losing that now. I don't know. Again, you know how I feel. I want to see Trump as president. I think he is the best shot that America has. And I've said it time and time again. America is the last stand. If it goes down, there is no other places to go to. You will not be able to go to Canada and have the same freedom. You will not be able to go to Mexico and have the same freedom. You will not be able to go to South America or Africa or the UK or the rest of Europe or China or Russia and have the same freedom. Australia, New Zealand, it is the last stand. And in some ways, it is a beacon of hope for the rest of the world. Not the governments, but the actual people, for what a nation could actually look like. That's just how I feel about it. Anyways, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications, helps us tremendously. And other than that, I'm out.